like the theory, at least I'd heard or I understood, was that you had a certain amount of money in the system, and that sort of denominated through the market the price of things, based on how much there was, supply, demand. This is a very basic, like vague understanding of it. So when you pump more money into it, whether it's at the bottom or the top in our system at the minute as it exists, the money will tend to flow straight to the top. So even if it's spent at the bottom, it accumulates at the top of our system. And say that we are pumping like, what is it, like 30% of all dollars or something even more than that have been printed in the last year. So if you increase the amount of like tokens for exchanging for things in the system, and it all accumulates at the top after 6, 8, 12 months, like it has, we've seen a huge, upward transfer of wealth. And the amount that's at the bottom in the hands of the normal people is worth less, but there is like that's the way I'd understood it. So what am I missing here?
Yeah. So ultimately there's, Warren Mosler would disagree with me in the way I'm framing this, but I hear others that say it this way, and it's sort of become the way I've taken this. It makes sense to me, right? So you have stock and you have flows. So stock is just money. I can save it under my pillow. I can put it under the mattress. I can put it in the backyard in a box. I can put it in a bank account. I can do any number of things. It's still a demand leakage. It's just doing nothing over here, right? That doesn't create inflation. What creates inflation is spending, right? When you and I spending, you and I both want to get a heart transplant tomorrow morning. Okay. We're back to the PlayStation story again. So now all of a sudden, beforehand, you didn't have enough money to get a heart transplant. Now all of a sudden you wake up today and you've got money in your hand and you're like, I get to live another 10 years. Okay, I'm going to get a heart transplant. And we go there and they're like, well, we got one heart. And so now all of a sudden you start bouncing up. So you got to get away from thinking about quantity of money. Money growth does not cause inflation. And I know a lot of crypto folks really ran to the, out there, which is interesting because, if I'm not mistaken, by that very notion, didn't Bitcoin just suffer a 40% hyperinflation? So, boom, Dogecoin, ooh, to the moon, the wrong direction. Oh, you mean the moon on my backside, right? Not the moon up there. Anyway, but
the moon's orbit changes, man. So if you're aiming up at first, then it's going round, and you got to like follow it.
Well played, man. Well played. But I really think it's important. This took a lot of time for me to get, okay, because gold standard logic is still in play. It's in all the textbooks. Everything you read. If I have an MBA, I got classically trained in economics. I learned micro, I learned macro, and I almost had to flush my brain once I started learning how it actually worked, right? So we used to tell our children, you're going to get a lump of coal in your stocking if you're not good. Santa's going to know you were a bad little boy and you're getting a lump of coal this year, right? I better be a good boy. I want to get, the little pop gun, or I want to get the train, or whatever the heck else I asked for from the Sears catalog yesterday, way back in the day. Well, we made up a lot of these kind of rules, okay, to prevent us from quote unquote being irresponsible and so forth. So a lot of things that we take as, oh my God, that's like God breathed. It's like intractable. It's the real story, right? Wrong. It was put there like in the United States, we have this ridiculous thing called the debt ceiling. Okay. Well, the debt ceiling, yeah. What does that even mean? Right. And they go up there with their thespians and, portraying all this grand, oh, it's immoral. We can't raise the debt ceiling. We're going to have to take out a credit card from the People's Republic of China. That's immoral. How can we do this? And all this grandstanding. It's both Democrats and Republicans pulling this moronic stuff. When in reality, all the debt ceiling is some arbitrary limit they set at the beginning of the year, which may or may not correspond with the real economic conditions of the day. So what the heck would you do that for? It's like putting a gun to your head and pulling the trigger. It's stupid. It's a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the junk. It's ridiculous. So in my opinion, if you look at many of the fiscal rules that are in place, I consider much of them being putting a piece of coal in your stocking for Christmas for being a bad boy. It's a myth, it's a legend, and it's there to protect us from the boogeyman that doesn't exist. And so this is largely what we're dealing with. We're trying to deprogram a world full of people that have literally bought hook, line, and sinker that they really will get a piece of coal from Saint Nick, if they do something wrong. So that's the fun story. But the reality is it's sadly killing people. I mean, this mindset is austerity in its worst form. They use this as a shield to say, well, we have to be fiscally prudent. We have to make good choices. And reality is that, it isn't that neat. Neoliberalism has caused a whole series of major calamities, both in the economy and the climate and people's lives, regular people's lives. And the fake belief, the false notion that a currency issuing government is like your household budget has done more damage to society as a whole than probably anything else in the world. You think about what Europe, what the EU did, and, the UK pulling out with the Brexit thing. On one hand, the neolibs categorize that as bigots not wanting to be part of the world. On the other hand, though, an MMT-informed position might be, hey, the UK did not want to give up its sovereignty of issuing its own currency, so it didn't adopt the euro, wanted to keep the pound sterling. And on top of that, it didn't want to give up the ability to create its own economy, so to speak, and have control of its borders. Now, I'm much more of an open borders guy than that, but when you understand the currency issuing nation can pay for things, it doesn't harm anything to allow immigrants to come in the country because the currency issuing nation can create jobs for all. And so there's a whole bunch of downstream, well, if then statements, that make your head explode. And that comes back to the beginning where you asked me, how did you become a lefty as opposed to a righty? And so it's those kind of if-then statements that kind of get you there after years of focusing on those if-then statements.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. Don't forget our sponsor, ExpressVPN, and my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, can both be found in the links in the description below. And also, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. It's the best way to help us grow. Until next time, thanks for listening. Screw the hedge funds.
You can make as many rules as you want, but if there's no teeth behind them, what's the point?
Well, like Citadel is potentially just gone in a few months. It feels like financial institutions, that they are all laughing at us by buying GME. Screw the hedge funds. Like, I will lose my entire investment if it brings them down.
Why on earth, last May, could you buy the entire company for $200 million?
What's been happening on Reddit and in social media and in the marketplace has never been seen before.
I argue that nothing is off the table. There is nothing off the table when dealing with the volumes of money in something as big as the United States stock market.
The hedge funds have clearly underestimated a group of people raised on Friday night World of Warcraft raids.
Dark pools, they're another mechanism to manipulate and cheat. Mainstream journalists don't say these things for a number of reasons. One is their sources are the people that I'm talking about, and so they can't call somebody a crook.
Superstonk and the other communities that have emerged are a hive mind, the likes of which we have never seen before. It's madness and brilliance, insanity and genius all rolled into one. It's very possible that Citadel will be gone in a few months. And not just Citadel, but the entire financial system has the potential to come crashing down. These crooks continue to gamble recklessly with the world economy, and this could be the moment that they finally get their justice.